The Curse of the Old Lighthouse in Salem. Our lengthy and terrifying narrative begins in the small town of Salem, Massachusetts. This town is widely known for its witch trials in 1692, but our story is not about witches, but about a mysterious lighthouse that stands on the ocean shore and holds many secrets and horrors. Introduction. The story of the old lighthouse began in the 1800s when this monumental sea guardian was built. The lighthouse was supposed to become a symbol of hope and safety for sailors, but soon its light turned into a curse for those who dared to approach these shores. It is said that the soul of the first keeper, John Whitmore, still roams the lighthouse, unable to find peace. Chapter 1. The Beginning of the Curse. John Whitmore was a sailor with many years of experience, but tired of long voyages and wanting to be closer to his family, he took the position of lighthouse keeper. Together with his wife Elizabeth and young son Thomas, they moved to the house near the lighthouse, hoping for a quiet and peaceful life. From the very beginning, something was wrong. John started noticing strange things. At night, there were footsteps even though everyone was asleep, and the lighthouse's light often went out on its own, leaving ships unprotected in the stormy waters. Elizabeth felt the presence of something sinister, and young Thomas often said he saw a man standing in the corner of his room and watching him. One night, while John was checking the equipment in the basement, he heard a voice calling his name. The voice was familiar, but he couldn't remember who it belonged to. As he descended the stairs, John felt a sudden chill and saw a shadow quickly disappear around the corner. From that moment, his health began to deteriorate rapidly. He lost weight, was tormented by nightmares, and his eyes lost their shine. Chapter 2. The Tragedy of the Whitmore Family. A few months after moving in, Elizabeth found her husband unconscious on the basement floor. Doctors could not determine the cause of his condition and just shrugged. John died a few days later, leaving Elizabeth and Thomas in deep grief. After John's death, life at the lighthouse became unbearable. Every night, Elizabeth heard her husband's cries and felt his presence. Thomas became withdrawn and stopped talking to his mother, spending all his time in his room. One night, when Elizabeth checked on her son, she found him standing by the window, staring at the lighthouse. The boy slowly turned around and whispered, "Daddy says we have to leave here or he will take us with him." Elizabeth decided to leave the lighthouse and move to her relatives. But fate had other plans. The next day, while packing their belongings, she heard Thomas screaming. Rushing into his room, she saw the boy being pulled toward the window by an invisible force. Elizabeth ran to him, but it was too late. Thomas fell out of the window and died. Elizabeth couldn't bear the grief and, left alone in the cursed lighthouse, took her own life. Since then, many have seen her ghost wandering along the shore in search of her son. Chapter 3. New Keepers. After the tragic death of the Whitmore family, the lighthouse remained empty for a long time. Locals avoided it, fearing the curse. However, in the early 1900s, a new keeper, Henry Miller, with his wife and 2 daughters, decided to move into the house near the lighthouse. Henry did not believe in curses and considered all this superstition. At first, everything was calm, but soon the family began to feel the presence of something sinister. The elder daughter, Anna, started complaining about nightmares in which a man came to her and said that they had to leave the lighthouse, or something bad would happen. The younger daughter, Lily, often played with an imaginary friend she called Thomas. One night, Henry woke up to the sound of footsteps. He went to check and saw a shadow of a man in the hallway. Henry followed the shadow and ended up in the basement, where he found John Whitmore's old diary. The diary described all the strange events that had happened in the lighthouse and a warning about the curse. Henry decided that they had to leave immediately. But that night, tragedy struck. Anna disappeared, and the family found her body at the foot of the lighthouse. Terrified and grief-stricken, the Millers left the lighthouse, abandoning all their belongings. Chapter 4. Paranormal Investigation. In the 1980s, a group of paranormal investigators became interested in the lighthouse and decided to spend the night there to prove or disprove the existence of ghosts. They brought equipment to record sounds and video, as well as temperature and motion sensors. As soon as the sun set, strange things began to happen in the lighthouse. The sensors recorded sudden temperature drops, and whispers and footsteps were heard on the recordings. One of the investigators, Jack, claimed to have seen the ghost of a boy standing by the window, looking out to sea. In the middle of the night, the team heard a loud knock from the basement. Going down there, they found all the equipment scattered, and bloody writings appeared on the walls again. The investigators quickly left the lighthouse, realizing that the forces living there did not want to be disturbed. Conclusion. The old lighthouse in Salem still stands, frightening locals and attracting curious tourists. No one dares to live in this cursed place, and anyone who approaches it feels an inexplicable cold and fear. The curse of John Whitmore continues, and the souls of those who died there cannot find peace. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to our channel, like and share your impressions in the comments. There are many more scary and captivating stories ahead. See you soon, dear viewers.